Okay, right. Welcome to the Unlikely Historians with me, John B.J. Griffiths, and
me, Johnny J.B. Bennett.
yes, we're in first episode. Just before we start, say happy birthday to Johnny here. It's his birthday yesterday.
Ah, thank you very much. Thank you. Yeah, 33. Feel
Yeah.
terrible. Halfway through my adult life, I'd say, and just it's just getting harder and harder every day. Okay.
Well, you'd be done for in Victorian times now. You'd be well past it, actually. Yeah, you'd be well past it. They'd be like, "How's this guy still going?"
I should essentially count my lucky stars. So thank you very much. Thanks, stars. Yeah, I feel brilliant. Yeah. So
Great.
thank you about that. Dental cover, that's a good thing to have. The Victorians didn't have that, I don't think.
No, didn't have any teeth.
Already
No,
got one up.
no,
No teeth.
So yeah, that's a whole other discussion. We could do another podcast. So yeah, but
The teeth of the Victorians.
that's when we're trying to find things at the end when we've done every part of history. So yeah, so first today is what we're going to be doing on the podcast. We're going to be doing a monthly theme. So we're in September now. We're going to look at themes. So I'm looking through what stands out, what happened in this time in history, and a great one I've chosen today is World War II began the 3rd of September 1939. And I thought, what a great one to start on, because we've obviously had the D-Day anniversary over the summer, and there's been obviously a lot of talk about it. And I looked at it, just came up, and I thought, wow, this is a really good one. And it's a one I've looked into in the past. It's not my kind of subject of history itself. Just to expand on that, I'm doing a history and politics degree at the moment, so this is why it's come from there. And Johnny is just like an enthusiast, the history enthusiast, loves it, wants to know.
Just enjoy the facts. I'm like a sponge. I want to soak up everything. That's it. Just give it to me.
That's it. Yeah. Just literally sinking in history into that head of it. So yeah, we just thought we'd do the podcast because well, we're all going to learn from it as well, and it's something and make it fun. That's it. So we're going to do some facts, make it fun, and then we're going to move on. Johnny's going to do some parts as well, and then we'll do kind of like a topical bit. We'll do this week, what's been going on. So let's paint the picture now. I'm going to paint the picture for you. We've gone the 3rd of September, war has been declared. Britain and France declared war on Germany because they invaded Poland. Go back a year, Neville Chamberlain, who was the Prime Minister of Great Britain at the time, is holding out a piece of paper saying peace with Germany. We've made peace. There's going to be no war. Hitler signed it. Italy signed it under Mussolini as well. Europe is at peace. So within a year, you've gone from everyone celebrating peace, going to be great peace in our time, we're not going to have another world war like the last one, obviously World War One, to being in a year full-blown war. And I mean,
what the hell happened?
And not just full-blown war, the deadliest war in history.
Jesus.
So we've gone from being nothing to there, and we're talking 75 to 80 million people that have died in the whole conflict. So
God,
it's huge. It's huge. So what we're going to do, we've got that 3rd of September date. We're going to work our way backwards a little bit just to kind of see, how this happened. How did it go from this peace agreement all the way to this like full-blown conflict? So I've got some dates, bullet points so we can run through and expand on before. So I'm going to lead you up to it first. So the 1st of September, Germany invades Poland.
Right, well, hold on. Can we go back to the start? Why on earth did we have this peace treaty in our hands, and all of a sudden, boom, we're at war? What the hell went on?
So it'd been brewing for a long time. It's been Germany obviously expanded through Adolf Hitler. He's built this, he called it the Third Reich. So he wanted to make Germany the most powerful force in Europe again. So this is going back to medieval times. They had the First Reich when they kind of expanded all territory in Europe. You've gone to the Second Reich, they called it, which was the First World War type period. Under the Kaiser, they had the monarchy back then. That's kind of going late 1800s towards obviously the end of the First World War, 1918. So that obviously got disbanded there. And he has built up this period, built up the Nazi Party, to obviously taking over in 1933, I think it was then, and then obviously growing it into a full totalitarian state. And we'll run through that a little bit as well, how that happened, and making it obviously one of the most powerful forces in Europe. So what we'll do, we'll go back a little, work our way back a little bit. We'll work back to about World War One just after. So like the kind of the legacy of World War One, we had a period where obviously the Germans lost the war. Britain, France, Russia, America all came in and obviously beat them. They signed a treaty called the Treaty of Versailles. So that was obviously after the First War, after the loss, they had to come in, sign a treaty, and pretty much they had to give away back all their territory to the Allies, obviously all of us. And they had to sign a treaty to pay compensation. So it's not just, we're not just taking back what you've, taken. You're having to pay for what you've just done here.
They're going to fine you on it.
Yeah, and who does that always go down to? It's not the government, is it? It's the people, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
So that's that money that's going to have to be paid back out of anything, isn't it? That's being taxed. That's being on them. So this led to a period of bitterness, real poverty in Germany, real poverty. It was disastrous, really. And obviously this led up through the 1920s, and then also on top of that you had the Great Depression, 1929, the Wall Street crash. So you've got a combination of this treaty having to pay all this money back, and then obviously on top of that you've got the Depression, which made businesses all over the world crash, stock markets drastically go down. So it was a huge impact. So you can imagine this building in the people, this kind of need. And obviously communism was rising as well, so that was scared from that. Obviously the Russian Revolution was at the end of the First World War, 1917. So you've got this build of fear coming through, fear through the economy, through communism, through all sorts of things at the time. So as we went on through the 1920s or late 1920s, we started to see Europe changing to kind of far right movements because of this, which you can link it to today as well. We have economic issues, and again far right movements are growing. So it's quite good to look back in history and link it. It always repeats itself. So yeah, Italy came in 1922 with Mussolini. He came in and took over again as a totalitarian state. So you can see in that period, you've got Italy, Germany rising, that kind of far right, and it's affected because obviously you had Mussolini, who in the end would alliance with Hitler, and they both came together and obviously fought in the Second World War. So yeah, it's a growing issue, and people like Hitler saw this, and Hitler was a great speaker, by the way. I mean, he was, he really could connect to people, and he saw this and thought, and he was actually in the First World War as well. He was, I think he was it might be wrong, with a corporal. I know he was in the First World War, and he was a kind of a veteran of it, and he really took the loss badly. So he obviously started rising up through the 20s and tried to make connections. So yeah, it really started to grow in that time. So you've got that combination of poverty, economy, and then obviously the rise of the far right. So yeah, it's a turbulent time. So
and I bet it's quite hard for you to talk about it because it's a big mixed bag of emotions. Let's be honest.
It is, and it's a roller coaster, to be honest. And then you at the time you'd be in this roller coaster. And now the problem is with Hitler letting himself down here when he was going through. He couldn't help himself with the violence and stuff like that at the time. He had a lot of people around him called they had the SA, who like to rough up. They were bullies, really. They'd be going around the street, battering everyone.
The SA, is that secret army? Super army.
Right, do you know what? I've actually forgotten what it's called. I know the SA, but I've actually forgotten the actual the old actual word for it. But yeah, no, let's just call them the super army.
I think, well, they basically were. Let's be honest.
So they come in and they were seen at the time. They were kind of like bullies, and they were coming in. And there's a guy called Ernst Röhm. He was in charge of them. He was one of Hitler's mates, good friends. And he was in charge. They were roughing people up in the streets. If you're a communist, you're getting it. If you're a Jew,
you're bloody bullies.
If you're anything apart from a Nazi and Aryan, you're getting it. To be honest. So yeah, and that kind of led into issues. And obviously, this is going on a bit of a tangent. Obviously Hitler. That's another podcast in itself. Really, we could talk about the rise of Nazism from like kind of the 1920s all the way through to, to 1939. So we'll leave that. We'll give a brief overview there. We don't want to go too much into that one. So yeah, eventually Hitler came in. So 1933. So you had all that period from the 1920s and building. Hitler also did go into prison, but he came out and he actually
Hitler went into prison.
Yeah, he went into prison for doing the. He was kicking off in the putsch, the Bavarian beer hall putsch, and he tried to lead a resistance pretty much. He tried to overthrow the government, and it didn't work, and they got arrested. There was people like Hermann Goering were involved. It's all his mates, they were there, all the big names, and they all got arrested. And
so how long were they banged up for?
God, I can't remember now. I think he was. Oh, I forgot how long it was. I know we had a very.
Was it like a long stretch, or was it just like, listen, Hitler, you've got the night in the cells, calm yourself down, stop drinking, you lunatic.
I think it was about 3 or 4 years. I'll have to double check it. I know it was.
Okay.
It might be long now. I'll have to double check that. But I know he had a very comfortable prison. They made him very comfortable in there, and he started building connections in prison. Do you know what I mean? So then when he came out, he came in and he rose even further up. So so in 1933. That's it. So 1933, they finally got into one-party state under the Nazis. So at this time period led up to this, and then eventually it came to the time Hitler became full chancellor, and that was a one-party state, Nazism. So moving on a little bit further, 1935, Germany and Italy started expanding. They actually wanted to take old territory. It's the old, thing. That used to be ours, and that used to be part of our empire, and we used to have that. But let's be honest, how far does that go? We could all say that about anything, can we? Like Norway could come over and go, you know what? Actually, I used to have that. Well, Northumbria, I'm having it. Yeah. What?
Well, bloody Putin, he's doing that right now, isn't he?
Well, there you go. Another one. He goes, you know what? Ukraine, that's Russian. Let's go. We're taking it back. And you know what? Even further, Poland, they'll have that as well. Do you know what I mean? Where does it end?
It's like, where does it stop? Where do we draw the line?
I know. Well, there's no lines in this, man. There's no lines in politics. There's no lines ever. I mean, if there was as simple as that, we'd have a lot of peace in this world. But no one can read between the lines.
And I'm sick of it.
Yeah, I know.
We should start our own super army.
Yeah. And then
that's it.
And that's what Hitler said, and that's what happened with Nazism. So yeah, there we go. Well done. So yeah, good start. Start another war.
So Poland, why did he invade Poland first?
We're leading up to that.
Okay.
Don't go the gun.
Okay, I'm just getting excited.
I know the sponges wanted me to just go.
Exactly. Fill me up, big boy.
So Germany expand. They go into Austria first because that's the easy target. Because obviously German, Austria, kind of that's old. And they go into Austria 12th of March 1938. They said, we're going to take that back. Hitler was actually Austrian himself as well, remember? So he wanted that back into the, into the Rhineland, let's just say. So, yeah, little opposition, but, nothing really. And it kind of leads with the same time of France and Britain being very unsure what to do. Most of Europe don't know what to do with this because they don't want another war. And there's been a lot of pressure going, we need to put pressure on Hitler. We need to stop him. We need to do something about it. And our leader at the time, Neville Chamberlain, he's always been portrayed as quite weak because he was always seeking peace. But it was, I think, at the time, we believed to be the consensus of the country. We don't really want a war here because we don't really do. That'd be now. We don't want a war now. Do you know what I mean? Imagine everyone was like, yeah, right, we want a war now. Let's go. Come on, let's go. Pitchforks. Come on. No, we don't. No one wants that. Yeah. So at the time, he was in his belief as well, kind of emulating what the people wanted and obviously what he wanted. So I do get it, but let's be honest, it is never going to happen with Hitler, was it?
Yeah, things. Yeah, it sort of took a bad turn, a dark twist.
That's the least of it, mate. But yeah, dark twist, yeah. And then, they got in, so we've been quite lenient on, and they go, oh, he's only taking Austria. So, it used to be part of Germany. That's fine, you let him go that. Then he goes, I want part of Czechoslovakia as well. And then it goes, this is obviously modern Czech Republic. And then he goes, and obviously Slovakia as well. And then he goes, well, I want that now, because that used to be part of Germany as well. But I only want a little bit. This is really good, because this is quite... kind of emulates today as well. I only want the bit where it was German part, because it was very complicated. Czechoslovakia. It was of different parts of previous empires and all that, so it was kind of dotted. So you could say, oh, that used to be my area, and oh, that used to be a bit of my area there, and all that. So he was like, oh, I just want the German bit, on the border, which obviously Putin's been going on about Ukraine and the Russian part on the border. So it's quite similar. So that happened in 1938, and this is when it started to kick off a little bit, because it's like, okay, so he wants that part, but then what will stop him going further now? Do you know what I mean? Because he's gone.
Exactly. I mean, he's a greedy man, is Hitler? A very greedy man.
He wants it. He wants it secretly. He wants it. He wants it all. He wants to expand. And a lot of his generals were a bit like, okay, how far? Because he had a secret plan that he wanted it. He wanted to go right to France at this time. Obviously, this was not at the time of the generals and stuff. It's a bit of a shock. Austria is one thing, France, and obviously to control this territory as well. Obviously, because you got to, when you're in, you're not just, oh great, that's the war won now. We're in. You've got to control it. Have troops to control it. So, yeah, this led to there was a meeting in Munich. It was a peace treaty in Munich, which the Britain, France, Germany, and Italy came together over, and it was to do with Germany wanting to take Czechoslovakia, and Chamberlain wanted a peace agreement that he would not go all the way. He would not go through and take everywhere. And unfortunately, Czechoslovakia wasn't actually invited to this meeting. So it's like, imagine you dealing with a country. It's like, imagine you're the country and then you're the only one not invited to the party.
What's on it? Well, how did that even come about? Well, how did that even happen?
Well, behind the scenes, they were making plans with Germany, Italy, France and Britain were all coming together. And they wanted to make a peace treaty, obviously, because Hitler was going on. He said, I want to take this part. Let me take that part, but I promise I won't take any more. That was literally the peace treaty. And Czechoslovakia, this is their country, wasn't even invited to this talk. So
that's insane. Just using them as a battering tool. Yeah, go on, you can have a slice of the pie.
Yeah. Yeah, just say that bit there. Just, watch that bit. That's fine, because that's another part. Just stay there, don't go there. Yeah, good. Thank you. Can you sign? He was like, Hitler, he sees this as weakness, real weakness. So he's going, they're just going to let me do what I want here. They've let me take Austria. They've let me go into Czechoslovakia. I really want Poland. What's saying? Are they really going to stop me? Like, are they going to just keep trying to get peace? And I'm just going to keep going, yeah. That's fine, peace. Take another country. Oh, yeah, sorry, no more. Yeah. Take another country. Where do they end up in the end? Great Britain. That's his goal. Even though he promised he wouldn't do it, but we all know he promises. Promises, schmomises, isn't it?
Well, we deserved it at the end of it, didn't we?
Yeah. So yeah, we famously this is the famous meeting with the obviously the leaders, and Chamberlain flying, as I said at the beginning, with the big peace treaty going. We've made peace. Everyone cheering. There's a great video. I'll have to put it up on our TikTok, when we do that. It's a great video of them all cheering, celebrating peace. We've done it. Hitler's not going to do anymore. We've done. That is it. So that is a big, big part. So this obviously expands now even more, because we all think this is it. Great. Just taking that part. We're done. Move on. Peace. No. Germany takes the whole lot. Drives
what he just did. That's it, everything. He's just like, no, I'm not taking the slice of the pie. I'm taking the whole goddamn thing.
Yeah, literally went right through. So he's just done this peace treaty. He's saying, no, it's fine, but promise, that's it, done. No more than the German part. He's gone all in, taken the lot. So that is when it really changed UK and France. Then of Great Britain and France, they were like, right, this is getting serious now. So
yeah.
At that time, for the first time in British history, in peacetime, we made the conscription, peacetime conscription to the army.
Just explain what that is.
So it's when you get the draft. So, like you can get called up randomly, so you'll get the letter conscription to join up. This has been talking about in politics recently. Remember the last election, they wanted to actually bring conscription in, forced. I think it was, it was 16 to 8. I think it was 16 on that part, wasn't it? I think it was 16 to 18. I think it was around there. And they wanted to bring back conscription to that age. you know, but this was obviously just random conscription for any, you know, adults, you know, kind of thing. This is just to join the army because they wanted to obviously build up the army now because this was April 1939. So I remember September 1939, the war starts. So in April,
right,
we're still hoping peace. We're only doing this just as a contingency plan. Do you know what I mean? So we're just in case, you know, let's get ready. So Hitler was getting ready for Poland now. Okay, so this is when the plans were coming in. He's taken the treaty's been ignored. He is getting ready to take Poland now. So what he does at this time, so when we're building our conscription, you know, with France as well, he's starting to strengthen his ties with Italy and Japan. So remember, Japan are in this game, remember, as well, yeah? You know,
I always forget about Japan. Always forget about Japan.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, where the loyalties lie.
Yeah, they are. And they're remember, he starts strengthening now. He starts going, right, Italy are in, I need Japan in as well. So at the time, Mussolini was obviously building his, exactly the same thing, building his, you know, territories, his totalitarian state, very similar. So he obviously, Hitler wanted him on his side, and same with Japan. But Mussolini was a bit reluctant at first. He didn't want to go all in because he's a bit worried, which a lot of people were worried because they were very scared by Hitler's vision, really. All the generals. Right. He was a visionary. He was a visionary. Like, you know, he literally was. And let's not take anything away from him. You know, he was a big visionary. You know, like I'm not just talking like taking over places and like killing everyone.
He had some grand ideas.
Olympics, you know, when that was up in 1936, massive Olympics. The infrastructure, you know, the place, the road motorways. You had the companies like Volkswagen, you know, all them coming through. And, you know, Hugo Boss, he was a Nazi, you know, all this kind of thing. Yeah. So you had all this like manufacturing and all this like vision and, you know, for the Third Reich kind of thing. I mean, it blew people's minds, really. He was an insane nut job. And he was fueled with hatred. Don't get me wrong, you know, that's what he was. But he was like, you know, originally he had big plans to expand.
He was like an industrial giant.
Yeah,
in a sense.
Yeah.
They just created loads.
Yeah. And you know, Germany built up a lot. I mean, what we spoke about World War I just after that before with the kind of regression of Germany, which I learned recently in history. We learned about the British Empire era, and Germany expanded massively into in that. You know, when I told about that Second Reich, the late 1800s to the end of the First World War, they expanded massively, and they actually started to compete against the British Empire. You know, with industry. So let's not forget where this past has been with Germany, and obviously he wanted that. This is where the vision is. I want to go back to that. I want Germany to become this force, you know, in the world again, not just militarily, you know, everything.
Yeah.
So this is what I want to put it in. Actually, I was going to put this in about the Nazi and Soviet pact. This is for me the most interesting part of this podcast.
Okay. Ready? Okay. I mean, you've not heard my wild card yet, but we'll move on. That's fine.
Yeah. Don't forget the wild card. No, that'll be it. But this is going to shock a lot of people because a lot of people don't know this either. So we all know about Russia. Obviously, we're in the war with us against Germany.
Yeah.
That was all going on. So we all know that. The Nazis and the Soviets actually made a pact before the Second World War. Well, at the start of it, you know, when they invaded Poland. This will blow your mind. So I'm not going to go into the forward part, but flash forward. Remember Stalingrad? These battles, Germany versus Russia, changed the war. Really, Russia really changed the war to win. You know, to help us win. Massive part of the war when Russia got involved. You know, against the Nazis. At the start, 1939, the Soviets actually got in with the Germans. So Stalin and Hitler made an agreement together.
Good God!
And we're besties.
They were besties.
Yeah.
They were sharing selfies in bloody New York City. What the hell's going on there?
Those two people killed more people in that time than anything else did in the whole of the century. No joke, they killed. And I mean, Stalin killed more than Hitler of that overall. Yeah. So if you have combined the two of them, those two were the biggest dictators, I think, in history, up there in history, by a mile. If you looked at Stalin funny, he'd be like, take his head.
Wow.
Did it all?
Really? He was a lunatic.
He was extremely paranoid. Extremely.
What? Where does this paranoia come from?
Well, we don't know. I don't know. I mean, he's obviously come from his childhood. He was big in when the rise of communism. Obviously in the revolution, he took a lot from that, and he was obviously coming through the 20s and 30s and all that, and he built up his power to obviously when he became leader, and then he was nuts. He was just absolutely insane. So it was just he just had this paranoia. So Hitler had that as well, really. These people, dictators who want complete control, they usually have that trait of paranoia. They usually have. There's a common trait, to be honest, which you find with people like that. So, yeah,
paranoia.
So, so there was the Soviets were getting really concerned at the time in there, saying, "We're seeing Italy grow here, Germany, Japan. We need to do something here," because they kept themselves quite neutral in between this time, First World War to, because they were obviously in the First World War to the Second World War. They kept themselves quite neutral in the 20s and the 30s, but then they started to see big players happening, big stuff going on, big movers positioning themselves.
Right.
So they wanted to do a tour. They tried with Britain and France first. So they went, right, let's get in with the Brits. Let's get in with the French. They broke down the talks. Nothing happened. So they went, right, let's go with the Germans now. So they're just completely going with where it's, what can we do? They're in the middle here. They're just going, who should we get with? They got on Hitler and Stalin, funnily enough. they clicked. So they make a pact in 1939 that they would actually have a non-aggression pact, so they would be at peace with each other. And not just that they would actually join together and start taking over Eastern European lands, and Germany would get a piece of the pie, and the Soviets would get a piece of the pie.
Good God!
So they would join together and even equal out the lands.
So two pretty formidable forces joining together to be like, right, okay, let's take on the world. Let's start growing our empires.
Yeah, that's it.
Would a problem with two very formidable people and lunatics potentially be, hold on, I want more land than what he's getting, so maybe we could just sneak a bit more of a bit bigger piece of the pie?
Oh yes, and I love you got onto that. Good spot in there, JB.
Knew it. Let's
just say this didn't last, okay? And I'll build into it, but Stalin took this. I mean, Hitler, I'm going to say it now. Hitler played him. Absolutely played him. I mean, don't get me wrong, Stalin had the last laugh. We all know that. But at the time, Hitler completely played him. He got what he wanted. Stalin agreed to no aggression. He would also help Germany invade Poland. So he's got what he wanted. So they've gone, we can invade Poland on our bit, and then Soviets can invade from the north, and then boom, we're going to go from two sides and we'll split it up.
Yeah, but split the difference.
Hitler was playing him completely. He was like, will you just do this for now, and then we'll see what happens later on. So it was obviously Hitler was at the time. Hitler was clever. As the years got on, he completely went nuts because he was obviously drug addict and stuff as well. They put him on all sorts of drugs, so he started getting crazier and crazier. But in the early parts, he was still crazy, obviously, but he was tactically very, very good and took us all by surprise. We were absolutely shocked by all of it, really, every leader. And he played all the leaders off each other. Very clever. So, so they finally invaded Poland. And this was the big thing. And at the time, Britain and France had been giving warnings to Germany saying, do not invade Poland. If you invade Poland, that is it. That's our kind of limit. But if you were Hitler, you'd be thinking, is it though? Because you've just given me, what we said about before, 2 warnings.
Yeah, I could probably push this a little bit further.
He keeps thinking that. So, so in response to this Soviet pact, so Britain and France are taken obviously surprised by this because they're thinking, my God, we were just about to have a pact with Stalin, and now he's just gone and blooming done it with Hitler.
Yeah.
And he wants to invade the place we're trying to protect.
Jesus Christ. Well, how the turntables have turned. Tables.
That's just classic Stalin, mate. He is if you want to talk about wild cards, Jesus Christ. So Britain was still pushing for peace, still trying their best. And we're about the 25th of August now. So on the 3rd of September, this war's about to begin. And the 25th of August, they're going, we can still do this peace. And it's like, come on.
Oh, my.
I know. This is where
the thing.
Yeah, I know, mate. I know. So this is the thing with Chamberlain where the weakness side come in, come on now. He ain't going to, look, do you really want to trust him again to do another peace act,
Absolutely not.
No. So it's
going there with your blasters.
Bring him in, yeah, bring him in. So that, yeah, bring it in, right? Release the Kraken.
Exactly. If only we had a Kraken. That'd have been it.
By the way, so the viewers will listen to this, we will be doing a Greek mythology podcast as well, which Johnny will love.
Oh God, it's going to be one of the best days of my life doing that. I cannot wait.
I know we will
dress up as someone.
Yeah. We can do themed one. We'll do that. I mean, one day, hopefully, we're hoping as we go on this, we'll actually do live from the Parthenon.
I'd actually love that.
Just set up outside. What are you two doing here?
No, keep yourself to yourself. We're doing the podcast. You're likely historians. You've probably heard of us. Thank you.
So yeah, we're going back. I was got a bit of a tangent then, as we always do. So yeah, we got back. So yeah, Mussolini agreed not to join this. He didn't want to join this Poland offensive. He wasn't really. He was like, this is getting a bit, touching. I don't really want to go to war with Britain and France right now. He wanted to build up his own thing. So yeah, he didn't do that. So yeah, Hitler was actually still at the time. I think he was doing this as obviously a distraction. He was trying to go, yeah, we'll have a peace agreement, And he said to him, bring the Polish, foreign, what do you call them now? Oh, mine's gone blank now. Oh, yeah, I've forgotten now. It's gone. Representative over to go. I'll go with that. Just to let everyone know on the podcast, I had a little kid keeping me up all night, so that's why my brain is fried.
Yeah, any excuse. For
that. So yeah, they wanted to do a settlement over Poland, and Hitler was doing this, and the Britain and France this time were like, this is not happening. That was the 29th of August, and then finally, yes, Germany invades Poland. The 1st of September, 4:45 in the morning.
Oh, God, no one likes an early start. Come on.
That big sort. Imagine being in bed like that. Right, quickly, like, what's going on? The Germans are here. Is that
For God's sake, lads. Can I just get a break?
Who's got that white flag? Where do we put that white flag? Quickly. Oh, just someone. You do it now. I'm too tight. You go out and wave it. Oh, it's too late.
I'd be absolutely knackered, I'm not going to lie. That'd be terrible. That time in the morning, imagine if it was cold as well. To be fair, September's getting to be a bit of a colder month.
We're all right weather. It's end of August, early September, so it's not full-blown winter yet. It's a good, do you know what? Right. Actually, it's a good time he's done that. I know why he did that, because you don't want to be invading Poland in the winter.
No. You just get stuck in the mud all the time. It's a terrible place to be.
It's like
freezing cold.
Yeah.
Jesus. Yeah, no chance. I think he's actually picked, fair play to Hitler. He's picked the timing well.
He did pick it well. He knew
okay, maybe not fair play.
That'll be a cut of the podcast now. Fair play to Hitler, and then that's it. So we've got him, and I think he was doing this as a distraction to get them to come in for this settlement, because he's like, yeah, bring someone in. We'll have a little chat about it. Bring someone from Poland over, representative. We'll have a little chat. And it's just gone. UK and France have gone. No. We've had enough now. They knew now this is happening. So on the 3rd of September, Britain declares war at 11:15 a.m. And on the Britain gave Germany a warning the day before for 11 a.m. on the 3rd of September. So 11 a.m. You've got till 11 a.m. to withdraw your troops, get out of Poland, or Britain and France were declaring war. Obviously got completely ignored. No surprise then. Really? And 11:15, so 15 minutes later, and I will put this on our TikTok account, the declaring of war on Germany, the actual broadcast. It's about 45 seconds long, minute long clip. So it gives you the Neville Chamberlain's address addressing the country. And I mean, imagine that now, being on the TV, and you're obviously equivalent now being on the TV, and we're at war with Germany.
Yeah. Well, it'd be Russia.
Well, yeah, obviously that's it. But imagine in the country now, you're thinking, oh my God, because a lot of people remember that First World War as well.
Yeah, because that's actually quite close together. To be fair,
What, 21 years, yeah.
bloody, that is very close together. Actually, when you think about it,
No, nothing really, is it? I know.
no, not at all. What
Mm.
a terrifying time though. You just go around hanging your washing out, and then all of a sudden, bloody newspaper gets dropped off. We're at war.
Oh, that was
Yeah,
it, yeah. Yeah, that was it. I mean, it's
terrible.
scary. Yeah, and I mean, and it was a scary time for people thinking that, because obviously, which we'll do this on another episode. We won't go into this too much now, but I'll talk a little bit about it, because Germany tested that kind of warfare. The Blitz warfare. Obviously the Blitz, when
Yeah,
we had the Blitz, when we would just bomb
yeah,
cities, ports, and all this, and they tested that on Poland. That was their first time they did this on Poland. So it was a bit different in Austria when they went in. They kind of just drove in and took over, really. Same with Czechoslovakia. With
right.
Poland, they did the air offensive, and I believe there was 1,150 German aircraft done in Poland, over Poland. Yeah, the Luftwaffe.
Good
They
God.
used 1,150. I think it was 1,153 actually, to be exact.
Wow.
Yeah, and
That is an insane amount.
the Luftwaffe, they built up the aircraft, the air force a lot. And what we've got to remember here is, on paper, Britain, France, the partnership and all that actually is a little bit stronger, really, than Germany on paper. You actually look at it at the time. But the thing, what the Germans did, they really built up their army well. Obviously, manufacturing, we spoke about that. They really built up their air force and their tanks. The tanks, they're amazing
Yeah,
on that. And what they had, which people don't like saying, but they did have it, was real unity and real togetherness for one cause. And that's what made them such good soldiers and such a good army, because they were so, let's say, indoctrinized into this belief from
yeah,
Hitler.
yeah,
They were scary to fight against, because they were, imagine if you got these people who are like, well, cult, let's say you had a cult, cult people who are cultish, they get
yeah,
radicalized and they are unified. You did have obviously some generals, some people who were very worried, and of course there was like some people worried at the time. There were people had to flee Germany because they were seeing
yeah,
this. But the vast majority of people were in one cause. You had the kids in there, the Hitler Youth, who were
yeah.
radicalized. They were telling their own parents if they believed something was wrong. They were doing something wrong towards the Nazi party. So
Wow.
you had this whole country which was just like, unified and scary, really. Think about it, because
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
So
But
yeah,
the thing is, it's almost sounds like the soldiers, all the forces really for Germany, they sound like almost barbaric, or maybe like a modern day, if you will, Viking sort of thing, where they all
yeah,
believed that they were dying literally for the best cause in the whole entire world, and they couldn't
yeah,
see anything other,
yeah,
apart from we need to do this and we need to succeed, and our glory is coming from the battle sort of thing.
yeah. That's it, exactly right. And it was, even as went on towards like kind of the Holocaust and things like that, they were having lots of soldiers and generals who really did believe in it. And a lot of people kind of sometimes go, oh, they had to take their orders and they had to go. A lot of the time they didn't. A lot of the time they actually wanted to do. They believed in the cause. That had been fed to them for all those years from Hitler. Obviously in the book Mein Kampf as well. It was the document. It was all radicalizing them people, and they really believed in what they were doing. So it's scary, obviously, to fight against people like that. They had at the start of the war, they were scary, and everyone really thought,
Yeah,
we're not going to be able to beat them. Especially, obviously, you can go on with how quickly they took France eventually, but that's obviously another bit. Again, that goes over 1939. But we'll talk about the actual invasion of Poland a little bit more, so we kind of get the idea. But it's good to know, because that is the start of the warfare, like I said, of their type of warfare that they were going to do. And so on the 17th, so you've obviously got the 3rd of September, we've declared war. Germany is carrying on their offensive. On the 17th of September, Russia invades Poland as well, which, like I said to you, they ended up being with us in the war against Germany. And at first we were against them. It's
yeah.
just crazy. So, give you a bit of perspective of the losses in this. There were 200,000 civilian losses in this invasion of Poland. Civilian.
Good God. So were they essentially just going into these towns and massacring people?
Yeah, just dropping like they do in the bits. You see them in the bombers, from the top, and they're just dropping bombs.
Yeah.
You've seen the videos, haven't you? When they're just literally,
Oh, yeah.
lift, boom, 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 yeah, straight.
Sort
That's
of thing,
it. Just
yeah.
lifting down, just going, and then you see the bombs falling out. So many, and that would just be over towns, cities, just straight over Poland.
Jesus.
Lay siege to these towns and cities, and yeah, it was scary, and obviously they surrendered eventually, and this led to the really Nazis invasion of Poland, led to all the kind of Holocaust, and obviously all the camps and all that, and this was the start. So they got 660,000 prisoners of war after it. Yeah, after the invasion, Russians and Germans, obviously this is both of them, and this obviously led to, as it got further on, the kind of like the camps and all those kind of things. So
yeah,
it was crazy, and for Russia and Germany to invade. I mean, and another one around the time, this is quite an interesting fact as well. Russia invaded Finland in 1939 as well. It was called the Winter War, and Russia had one of their worst defeats in history. So while everyone was having the war, with us and Germany, they were doing their own thing. They just lost. We just invade there. Yeah, and they lost. And it was quite reminiscent of the Ukraine invasion when they went into Ukraine thinking they would just take it in a week kind of thing, and got
quite bittersweet, that, isn't it?
It's so like the invasion of Ukraine. I mean, obviously a little bit different because it was only a year it lasted, so as this has been going on, but it was embarrassing. Like now, really, because even whatever Russia do now is embarrassing. They should have taken the place in a couple of weeks,
Yeah.
And it was very similar to the Finland one. So while we were all having a war, Russia were just going up there and thought they could just walk in, and they didn't. They fought back.
So let's just go back to what you said there. Sorry, instead of saying, okay, they should have just taken it in a couple of weeks. Probably, they have the capabilities of taking it in a couple of weeks.
I know we're just going to sound like Putin and Hitler sympathizers at the end of this. We're do you know what? I'm talking about radicalized. We're the ones being radicalized. So we're what we're going back to. So obviously with Stalin, we're talking about a little bit about Russia and Germany having this joint invasion. And obviously down the line again, this is another kind of on a little bit of a tangent, but it's similar. So when obviously Hitler turned his back on Stalin and invaded Russia, which was a huge shock to everyone, but most of all Stalin, he really, really took it badly, like really badly, because I think he thought, do you know what? Hitler's my best mate here. We've got so much.
What was the turning point? Why did he just say, do you know what? Yeah, we're taking Russia. Let's go, lads. What was the turning point?
He wanted it all, didn't he? He was greed. He was about, do you know what? He was about to take Britain. He was so close to taking Britain. And I think at the time, if he actually, I mean, I don't know this for a fact, but at the time, he probably would have taken Britain if he invaded, because we had Dunkirk. Remember Dunkirk, which was a disaster. I don't know if you've seen the film Dunkirk. If you haven't already, watch it. Tom Hardy's in it. Amazing. Cillian Murphy, Christopher Nolan directed it. It's a really good film. If you want to watch a great war film to give you a bit of, education about what happened in that early parts of the war, Dunkirk's amazing. Such a good film. So huge loss for the Brits. Huge loss. I mean, seriously lost. Serious loss. I think there were 400,000 soldiers, British soldiers, on the beach, stranded. Wow. Potentially all of them were going to get killed by the Germans. All of them, because they were just sitting ducks waiting there, because they'd obviously
lost.
Isn't
that when we were sending over ships, like any fishing ships and anything like that, any boats at all, just to pick up as many as we could?
Yeah, that was it. They sent over the Tron. And here's a great story. My nan, which Johnny knew very well as well, she was a nurse in the Second World War, and she was in Liverpool, and she was one of the nurses that actually took some people off the boats that went over, from the fishing trawlers, that she actually treated a lot of the soldiers after Dunkirk. And a little other story she said as well, was Johnny she remembered the Blitz in Liverpool. Obviously the Blitz was really bad, and she would cycle home from work in the middle of the Blitz, because obviously she had to work, nurse and all that. And then she would cycle home. She remembers, never forgets, a German soldier waving at her from one of the planes. I mean, the arrogance is unbelievable.
Absolute arrogance. God, I know. The cojones.
Imagine just driving, going just literally like that. Yeah, just like that. Release the bomb. So she had to cycle in between houses. But obviously she's not alive anymore. But she had some great stories. And sadly, we don't have a lot of people anymore. These stories, these times, you know what I mean. So we, which is a sad thing because it was a time really. What's the word for it? It molded a lot of people, into the future and all that. And let's just say we haven't got many people like that anymore. So yes, it's sugar-coated world.
Horrendous.
Yes. So yeah,
we'll move on from that.
Yeah, so we'll go and we'll do that's another podcast again. We'll go on about wokeness. So yeah.
Right, cancelled.
Yeah, cancel. Yeah, do it. So yeah, so Stalin really took it really badly when Hitler betrayed him. He thought they really got on. They were best mates and all that, and they were really going to have a great future together. And Hitler just went no. But we will do another podcast on this. We'll talk a little bit about. We'll do later events in the Second World War events. When kind of when the month comes up. We're doing, like I said, themes of the month. We will do stuff like this about the later on in the war. So things like D-Day, Stalingrad, the Battle of the Bulge. These are great battles, big wars. The Battle of Britain's a great one as well because that'll kind of link into what we were talking about. The Luftwaffe, the Air Force. The RAF. So we'll talk about all these, but yeah, that was what it was. This is the beginnings of it, and Stalin really took it badly, and this led to obviously the war between Russia, and that really made the war pretty much unwinnable then for the Germans because too many fronts, fighting on too many fronts.
Yeah.
So yeah, and that's it. So that and funnily enough, actually, I'll just round off my bit is so the 2nd of September 1945. So again, the theme of September. Was the victory in Japan Day, the actual official end of the Second World War. So nearly the exact 6 years to the declaring was the end of the war. Same month, same the 3rd to the 2nd. So yeah, near enough. It was the same. Yeah, same time. 6 years exactly later, and yeah, that was the end of the war with the bomb being.
What a long time that is. I mean, the total losses of that war just across the world is just. I mean, it's insane. Just because of someone's greed. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And their views. It's just absolutely mental. Mental. And this sort of goes into actually about my wild card as well. I mean, just some of these deaths were completely and utterly, pointless. Like, why on earth? So, just to go into that, actually, then, my wild card moment of this podcast, Joseph Goebbels. Hitler described him as a giant in a dwarf's body. Hitler. Okay. Wow. Hitler himself. The master of propaganda. Okay. Whose actual calling was first to become a failed author. Wanted to paint the picture there. Married the woman of his dreams. Had 6 kids, 5 daughters, and 1 son. He was very, very jealous. He was a very jealous man. He was actually very jealous of Hitler because of the relationship that she had with Hitler, his wife had with Hitler. Always thought there was a little bit of hanky-panky going on there. Couldn't prove anything. And he actually wanted to get a divorce, but Hitler wouldn't let him. Now, there's, a little bit of evidence out there to suggest that his wife's father or stepfather was actually Jewish.
Oh,
so big discrepancies there. I don't think Hitler was best pleased when he found out. Joseph certainly wasn't. So it was a bit of a crazy time for him, if I'm honest. But just to go back into this, actually, the wild card I'm not actually going to give to Joseph.
Oh,
I'm going to give to Joseph's wife.
Oh.
Honestly, wait till you hear this. God. This is a sucker punch for the centuries. So the wife was absolutely insane, mate. As soon as the sort of the war was coming to an end, and we all know what happened, she was like, well, I don't want my children growing up in this world where Hitler's not running things. So she took the kids, all bloody 6 of them, to the dentist that she knew quite well and said, right, we're getting rid of them. And he's like, what? Yeah. Honestly, she's like, no, we're getting rid. I'm not having my kids growing up in a world like this where everybody's talking about, the consequences. We need to be better. No. Hitler's the one and only. So, got the dentist, I believe, anyway, a little bit of research, to inject them with morphine, so it knocked them out, and then she crushed up cyanide tablets into the mouth. Seriously, all 6 kids. Boom.
Oh my God. Where was Goebbels when all this was happening?
Oh, God knows. He was having a pint with Hitler, probably. Absolutely mental. A farewell pint, a cheeky whiskey down the pub. But honestly, mate, it was absolutely mental. So going back to the deaths, I mean, that's children died from their own mother being like, okay, no, I am so bought into all of this that, you know, with the Nazis and everything like that, that it's going to be the best way of life, and I will not accept any other way. I need to do this. I literally need to just off my own kids. Lunatics, mate.
God.
Insane.
I mean, that is a wild card, mate.
It is. That is the very definition of a wild card, because you'd have never bloody thought that.
My God, what a nutter.
Yeah, exactly. And I think this is the thing. It's like, yes, there's all these horrific deaths and just terrible circumstances. And then you hear something like that, and you're like, what on earth was going through their minds? I mean, it's just lunacy.
It's mad. They had this obsession with cyanide as well. They always kept carrying it with them everywhere. Like, oh, just in case, right, drop this quickly. You know, just in case. Yeah. You know, oh, look, he's looking.
What a good time, do you? Take one of those. Yeah.
Oh, who's that guy over there? He's like that. I don't know. I don't think he's just a guy about his business. He goes, no, he's watching us. Quickly, drop a cyanide now. You got him. You got. But no, just drop it.
Absolutely mental. I'm sure they had like fake teeth or something like that, where they used to keep it in the gums.
Yeah. That's right, you'd bite down it, wouldn't you?
Yeah, something like that was going on. I'm sure I read that somewhere. But yeah, so that's my wild card anyway for the episode. I thought it shocked me. I'll just say that.
Maybe you're still on the podcast there, mate. And I am. God, I didn't know that. See, this is what I love, mate. This getting these wild cards in, because it's always the most unlikely ones, like you say. You'd think Goebbels would have done something insane, but, you know, his wife was an absolute nut job.
Yeah. I mean, that could all be false. I don't think it is. Yeah, I mean, I had some research.
We'll make our own facts on the show. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Facts or myth? Let the viewers decide.
Yeah. We'll get loads of people now going as that completely factually incorrect. Prove it. Prove it. Fake news, mate. Prove it. Yeah, you are, but no, we're not fake news, mate. You prove it. Go on. Give me documents. I want to see them now.
Get his wife in front of me on this podcast right now. We will interview her.
Yeah, we'll debate. Let's do it now. Come on, let's go on. I was actually going to ask you about if any of those kids were still alive, or the grandkids were still alive, but then I was like, well, obviously not. So
no. Ended the bloodline. Well, I don't actually know if it ended the bloodline, because I thought that there was 7 children and not 6.
Oh,
so I don't know if there's another child from somewhere else. I'm not too sure. I'll have to research that a little bit more, sort of thing. But anyway, you know, if it is, then they're all done for. That's it. End of the bloodline, which is probably a good thing, because he was the lunatic as well.
Because who knows what these kids would be doing now?
Yeah, exactly. Jesus wept.
I know.
I don't even want to think about it.
I mean, imagine if Goebbels had TikTok.
Mate, the whole world would be taken over. He was a master propagandist.
Yeah. Honestly, mate, we'd be gone.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Honestly, imagine how many people could you got, like, you know, all today's people, Andrew Tate and all these lot are already, like, kind of radicalizing, and he's nowhere near Goebbels level, Andrew Tate. I mean, he's poor man's Goebbels, sorry, Andrew Tate.
Imagine that title. Listen, you're a poor man's Goebbels, you are.
he'd love that, wouldn't he? Imagine that. Listen, mate, you ain't him. Anything, mate. You're definitely not a master propaganda, so you need to take a back seat to Goebbels, mate. You probably wouldn't even know who he is.
Oh my God! So, I mean, this is it. I think this has been a brilliant first episode. You know,
I think it's been really good. I think I like the structure. I think like we've done like about the history. Like I said, of the theme of the month. Yeah. I've got some great themes. We've got next week's one. What we on the 15th? Is that the 22nd? It'll be 20. Yeah, that's it.
Yes, I think so. Yeah.
We got next week's one. We'll be putting out some stuff on our TikTok and about that. So what's going to be coming up? So yeah, we'll do that. Put it to TikTok, promote this, get this out there, and then if you can all just start listening. So if you're interested in the history and you want to have you want to learn with a little bit of a funny twist in it, you know, not take it too seriously, because that's what history's all about. We want to, you know, make it fun to learn about and all, have a bit of banter, do all those kind of things. And then Johnny's wild card, I can't wait to hear him future wild cards. And I think this is going to just kick off, to be honest.
I've done it wrong. I've started really high, and now it's just going to plummet. This is it.
Can't be, well, we can definitely probably can in history. We'll find some great ones. So, yeah, and that's it. I think that sums it all up, isn't it? And we're all done.
I think so. I do just want to say that, you know, if you have watched this all the way through, thank you very much. You know, if you're watching it on YouTube, or if you're listening on a podcast, or if you're on our TikTok, whatever, give us a like, give us a follow. You know, share it with some of your historian friends who might enjoy hearing two idiots talk about history. But yeah, just give us a search, The Unlikely Historians.
Yeah, that's it. Very much so. Very unlikely, but with so much knowledge.
Yeah. Well, on one side.
Oh, yeah. One sponge. One. Yeah, so that's it. So we're done. Podcast over. Thank you very much. We will see you all next week for next week's episode.
Cheers, guys. See you later on. Right.